Yeah, I would say stay away from AI generated images because, an extra finger or something is just going to throw people off. And, you know, when you've got when you're using
I
stuff
like the
like
extra
that,
fingers.
yeah, well, I mean, sure.
Made Daily.
Hello and welcome to the May Daily Podcast. I'm John Michael Thomas.
I'm Pierre Hickman.
May Daily covers our favorite online stories from tech to social media
Our expert thoughts and opinions about information security, website design, and development.
and other random stories from the internet. This week's episode of the May Daily Podcast is made possible by Cinemechanics, the premier camera and lens rental house. When you're shooting your next film, commercial, or popular streaming TV series, Cinemechanics will ensure your project stays next level.
Yep. And also Made Daily version 5, the all-in-one secure website builder with built-in data collection tools and secure customer portals.
And one of our way back internet favorites, Doom.
Doom.
An oldie but a goodie.
Playing Doom in all the places.
What was before Doom?
Castle
Wolfenstein.
That's a good one. Wolf 3D, I guess. There was the Castle Wolfenstein on the Apple. I had to go blow up Hitler. I'm just never able to get that to work.
I remember getting outside the door of Hitler and you got to drop the bomb under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Today we're going to take some questions we had about different things related to AI and web and design. And so the first question was, does the use of AI generated content hurt conversion rates? And I'll let you start with this one, Pierre.
Yeah, I think that it can. It could. I think AI generated content can certainly be really quick and convenient. But if you're not super careful and pay real close attention to your edits, especially if you're making some kind of factual assertion, the AI tools are always like constantly wrong. Not always, but they're often wrong and will just, that's called hallucinations. I'm sure everybody's heard of it, but they just make up statistics and facts because that seems like the logical thing in the next sequence of the sentence, right? That's what these large language models do. They just it's sparkly predictive text, and while it seems really good, you got to be super careful. And if you start getting wrong content and wrong information on your website, then not only is that bad for conversion, I think it's bad for your general brand image and it just looks bad.
You gotta, I think AI is trained on data, right? So to your point, it doesn't always know that we don't always know if it's right. So like there was that example where a lawyer used a chat machine for coming up with case examples to support his case or preceding cases, and they were fake. Yeah. AI just made them up.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. I think that's right on. It's okay, I think, for marketing or to use as an idea generator.
Yeah.
But you should always be, I've used it for hey, I need 50 headlines around this topic. And it does get the wheels turning and you're like, okay, there's some interesting things here. And then it sparks a way to write it on your own. Yeah. But we don't really have true data yet either. I think the verdict's still out because but you can kind of see that if you get deprioritized for having the same content on multiple pages, if there are multiple pages throughout the internet at large that are using the same AI generated content, which could happen, it could deprioritize you.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're at the point where you have to rely on one of these language models to write your content for you, maybe just choose different content to write. I feel like if people are gonna know when something is genuine, when something is, when you feel passionate about a subject, and that's going to come across in the text. And I think that not just for conversion, not just for SEO, but just for your own sanity, like write what you're interested in, write what you're excited about, write what you know about. That's going to come across. It's going to be good for your brand. It's going to be good for your business. It's going to be good for everybody. And then, put a anti-AI scraper thing in your robots.txt so that your content doesn't get scraped and training somebody else's AI.
I think, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more AI generated content in terms of even novels and things. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds on that one.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope it's a passing fad. But yeah, you're probably right. All right, here's another question that we got. So we're kind of on a theme of conversion today. So do inconsistent typography and no brand colors, so kind of lack of consistent branding, does that hurt conversion?
Does that hurt conversion? I would say yes, because ultimately design matters.
I would agree.
And I mean, if you know something's well designed, we gravitate to good design. So I like, Apple products and things. And so I think the context matters a little bit. Like, what are you converting for? If you're trying to like get somebody to purchase your product and get through the shopping cart, then yeah, conversion is a big thing, and you need good hierarchy, good user experience, good flow through the shopping and checkout system. But as far as like overall website conversion stuff, I think some tips would be have clear typographic hierarchy that includes headlines, subheadings, body text, labels, button text. A brand color palette is really important just to give the brand a solid identity.
Yeah, consistency.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then also like it goes beyond just the logo and maybe background colors or patterns or things for the actual brand graphic elements that are traditionally with print. But it does matter if you're thinking about branding across your user interface, your buttons, your elements, your icons. You are creating a visual language, and people will appreciate and recognize the pattern.
Yeah.
And it helps reinforce the brand when you have good organization of design. And then there was one other one, and that just falls into the consistent use of these elements across all patterns, so you have an overarching system. It's just like any other wayfinding system. When you go to the airport and the signage is bad, you have a really terrible experience finding your gate. But when it's good and the right font is chosen so it can be read from 30 feet away, and it's got good letter spacing, that's all stuff that's proven to be tested to make the experience better.
Yeah, and I think for conversion, like we've all experienced when you like if you click a link from Google or whatever and you hit a website and the design is just bad, like you get this immediate sense of, is this even real? Is this legitimate? And that isn't to say that a site that is well designed is necessarily legitimate, right? You still have to be careful, but I mean, we just have built into us, I think, the sense that if something looks good, it's going to be more trustworthy and more legitimate than something that looks bad. So I think a good design, good branding, good typography, all of that is pretty much table stakes now. If you want to have a presence online, you have to have a nice design or you're just going to get nailed.
Yeah. But also, it's not just the design, the content does matter.
Absolutely.
And that's probably more important to the conversion than how elaborate of like logo you have. I mean, really, it's about communicating through content. That's going to be the number one thing that's gonna make things convert for you.
Yeah, I think the design doesn't need to be complicated. It could be simple, right? But you want to have clear, consistent usage of, yeah, like you said, type hierarchy, imagery. Don't have, especially on mobile. I see this all the time. Like with a lot of like newspaper sites where you can't even scroll the article because there's so many ads, right? There's ads popping up above the text, on the side of the text. Like you can't even. That's a horrible experience, and I think that, you know, the if you're doing that on your own business website, it's going to kill your conversion rates, and people
And
are
I
just
would,
going to leave.
yeah, and I would actually add on to what you said, because the question was, does inconsistent typography and brand, no brand color hurt conversion rates? I would say maybe even a better question would be like, does the layout of the content determine whether a conversion rate happens or not? And I would say that's probably even more important,
Yeah.
because to your point, if you're interrupting the flow with ads, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can't tell the difference between an ad and the content you're reading, it becomes problematic. But if you like looking at things like Medium, which has a pretty good consistent hierarchy of how to read something on a digital screen, um, when it's well designed, and it's really well designed, it works.
Yeah.
So next question is, how do zero customer reviews, so like you have a business and you have no customers reviews, how does that hurt your conversion rates?
Well, okay. So I think there's a couple of parts to this. There's reviews, and there's third party reviews. Say you put your Google reviews on your website, or your Yelp reviews, or whatever. That's one thing. I do think that um, social proof is important for customer trust. So testimonials, saying, this client has said, this product is great, right? And I think it's important for conversion to have some form of social proof. I don't know necessarily that it's super important for those to be specifically reviews, right?
And so elaborate on what social proof is for anybody who doesn't know.
So, uh, social proof is external validation of a product. So that could be a review, right? It could be a Google review, or it could be a customer testimonial. It could be, a case study. Even it's somebody else saying that. Not so if it's my product, I'm selling a product or a service. I of course am going to say this product and service is great. And you've got a good old LeVar Burton says, in Reading Rainbow, but you don't have to take my word for it, right? Here's another person who says this product is great, and you may have heard of this person, or go visit their website and see the work that we did. That is what you would call social proof, and I think that's really important for especially selling services. But and reviews are definitely a tried and true and legitimate way of showing social proof. I do think that if you're going to use reviews, third party reviews are probably going to be more accepted than first party. So if I just put on my site, the five star review, right, and that came from me, who knows if I'm actually telling the truth or not. Whereas if it comes from Google, they have a lot of controls around who's reviewing and whatnot. Although that said, there are ways to game those review systems too. So
yeah, I think that's um it's just something that anybody looks for. You talked in a previous podcast about how 3-star reviews on Amazon are a little bit more valuable than a 5 or a 1, because it's maybe a little bit more of an honest response. But I think, and just in general, getting people to speak about what you're doing, and hopefully it's good, and getting those likes and getting those shares and things are kind of a good footprint for helping with conversion, because it's just validation. It's like the walking up to the old retail store or restaurant, and they've got things that customers have said on the outside of the building. So it's a good thing.
yeah.
Next question is, how do these design mistakes hurt conversion? And so there's a few different things here. Um, so let's just talk about like, okay, so conversion again. What if you have missing or unclear call to action buttons?
Um, yeah. So I think, and actually, I'm kind of looking ahead here, looking at the rest of this question. So we've got missing buttons, poor website speed, bad images, confusing navigation. I think all of these things, they, anytime you have a bad design, any kind of bad design, it introduces friction, right? It
Right.
may, when I have to think about what do I have to do next, right? So the about so say it's a missing call to action button, or maybe it's multiple buttons that aren't, that you have one that says book a call, one that says learn more, one that says start now. If I have to think about what do I click, what do I have to do, that's introducing friction into the process. It's making me think, it's making me wonder, am I doing the right thing? And anytime you do that, you're increasing the chance, the likelihood that your customer or your target audience is just going to give up, right?
Right.
And that,
Convert.
yeah.
Yeah. Conversion is based around audience. And what the conversion is varies. So, for example, if you're a lawyer and you're like a defense attorney and you know that the how you want to be contacted is a phone call because that's how people are going to get in touch with you.
Mm,
They are going to they get into some sort of trouble, they're going to look for a phone call. They're not going to take the time to fill out a form, and you may not want them to. You
right.
may want to get that phone call and be able to start helping them immediately. Now a different business who sells a totally different product um, may need more of a form that can do some qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So it may be a construction company who has a uh, product that they sell, but they need to qualify whether the customer has the kind of funds to purchase like their cabin building kit or whatever. They can qualify people out using different things between forms and buttons. And things. And then a little pro tip on this is, uh, and you mentioned it too, Pierre. It's like you have to be clear with your language.
Mm-hmm.
So, click here doesn't tell me anything. Click here for what?
Right.
You know, learn more is also a little vague, but it's like sign up now, book a call,
Yeah.
add to cart, you know,
Yeah.
make an instant purchase, or I forget what it says on buy instantly or whatever.
Yeah, that's
That's
actually,
much more clear.
yep, that's actually a really good point. And when you're thinking about conversion, you say, I want, better conversion on my website. Um, that, like you said, that means different things to different people. And as a business, you have to decide, what does conversion mean to me? So in a
Right.
general sense, you could say conversion is when the visitor to your website takes the action that you want them to take, right? That is conversion. So for the lawyer, the defense attorney, that conversion might be clicking the phone number link or making a call. For a software company, it might be starting a free trial, or maybe it's going to the calendar to look at a demo. And once you've determined what that action that you want your audience to take is, then it gets a lot easier to sort of funnel that. So then like, oh well, I sell a software as a service and I want people to start the free trial. So then your button should say start free trial now, right? That's what you want them to do. And if everybody's clear on what you want them to do and they do take that action, right, then they have converted, and that's the goal. So I think that thinking about that in terms of your business, what do I want somebody to do? Then you can start targeting your imagery, start targeting your text content and your call to action buttons all around that thing that you want them to do.
Yep. Poor website loading speed. I mean, that's kind of now like I would say table stakes. I think we still fail to design for mobile devices.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
even though I love a flashy website with a lot of animation, it's really not appropriate for sites that need to be transactional in nature. You don't go book a flight and deal with like the interface, like animating on. There may be
Yeah,
animating for loading or other things, but that type of stuff is for marketing
yeah,
and entertainment, slated things. But um, I mean, that's a really important thing. Like you need, if you're going to go fill out a form online, you need the form to load fast. Otherwise,
yeah.
it definitely will people will just abandon the page, and you just lost out on a potential customer or happy customer,
Yeah, there's
happy
a
client.
ton of research that shows that slower pages hurt conversion, right?
Yeah.
And the slower it is, the worse it, like it's not a linear scale, right? It kind of it gets worse. Um, and uh, um, you say it's kind of table stakes, but I'm constantly amazed at how slow a lot of sites are at loading, particularly WordPress. Like some of the older WordPress
Mm,
sites, they're so slow, and I think it has to do with plugins. If you have advertised like ads on your
sure.
site, those
Sure.
can and cause a lot of slowdown, and also a lot of external. If you're loading a lot of external JavaScript or tracking, like the Facebook pixels, every one of those things slows down the page load, and I think those can definitely um, hurt performance, especially on mobile devices, right? Like phones are getting faster, mobile networks are faster, but
Yeah.
still, yeah. And I agree
And it
that animations, I
it's
think they're kind of silly.
yeah, and it's not like the old days where you would have to, really think about what the compression of an image was before you even uploaded it into the tool. And now people are shooting off their iPhones, which are actually a few meg file, especially if they have it on 4K, throwing it into, a CMS like Made Daily. And then, you need to make sure that like, the system you're using can process multiple sizes
Yeah,
like Made Daily does and make it so that, it's delivering to the right device.
yeah,
Um, and internet gets faster, but it's still, I think, a good thing to still keep in mind,
yeah.
which
It
yeah.
I think it's a combination of logic, right? Um, you don't want to be forcing your mobile users to download a 150 megabyte 6,000 pixel wide image because that's how you're setting it up for desktop, right? Because you want it to stretch full screen. That's kind of where the tools come in. So like you were saying, Made Daily, we will automatically scale down images, so that we're not shoving those massive images down to a mobile device that can't even display it, right?
Yeah.
And so partly it's your tools, and partly it's kind of just thinking about, does this make sense for this?
Yeah. Another question was, what about like bad stock images? Well, that's subjective and to some degree. um, but bad or AI generated images, like what is it showing? I mean, we've all seen the like website for, like mental health help, and it's, the sad looking person in the corner in the dark room. That's not really the best type of imagery. Because that sort of stuff can be almost cliche
Right.
to some degree. And I think that just bad images is just also like can really falls back into the one of the earlier questions, which is about design and branding. Good
Mm,
photography makes you look on brand, or um, where poor looking photography or cheap photography can make your product or service look cheap. And you
yeah,
want your images to really reinforce the text, be contextual to the blog post or the content on the page. And it's just like any kind of storytelling medium,
yeah,
But again, here's kind of an area where AI generated images are becoming much more prevalent, and we're going to see a lot more of them.
Yeah, I would say stay away from AI generated images because, an extra finger or something is just going to throw people off. And, you know, when you've got when you're using
I
stuff
like the
like that,
extra fingers.
yeah, well, I mean, sure, but it doesn't look professional. And, it looks like somebody generated a site with AI, which then leads to, is this real? Is this a scam? Is it legitimate? So, personally, I would say stay away from AI altogether. But as far as stock photos go, I think it's more about, everybody uses a lot of people use stock photos, right? And I think that it's more about, is this stock photo conveying the feeling that you want to convey? So, like we were talking about the defense lawyer, they want somebody to call, and it's like when you have a picture, it's like, call us if you're in trouble for, DWI or something. But if your picture there is like somebody with handcuffs on, that's not giving the right impression. You want somebody to feel like they're going to be taken care of, not they're going to go to jail, right? So you want to just watch out for the 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 kind of the emotion that your images are conveying.
Yeah.
And don't use AI. Just don't. It's bad.
I think that the thing about stock images and it's just that people fall into traps, and it takes time. It takes time to find good images. It takes time to dig through stock images. You can spend hours digging through stock images trying to find the right thing, um, and custom photography
Expensive.
is expensive. Okay, so here's kind of a hodgepodge of things that include confusing site navigation. That's the links at the top of your page. Website clutter, unresponsive design, and disorganized content. Um, I don't know exactly what you call clutter, but I think the sentiment is it's just like if it's you jam too much stuff into a page, or you didn't think through your content, or you're trying to say too many things, it's just friction.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects negatively on your site because it impacts your sales flow and limits access to products. And that is a challenge, I think. I mean, and all the things we've made over the years, Pierre. I mean, you all know, like if you got to do a product page for, a new phone, you have to figure out the hierarchy of information. Like, okay, what are the basic things that somebody needs to know? But then they might want to dig deeper and get the processor and the size and the physical dimensions of things, and it's and so sometimes clutter can be minimized by coming up with user interface paradigms to show and hide content, or refer to different pages or modals or things like that.
Yeah, I would think clutter is extraneous things that aren't helping you get the information that you want getting in the way, right?
Right.
So it's perfectly fine, I think, to have, you don't have to necessarily hide information away as long as as long as the information is organized properly. So you could say, my first section is going to be general statistics. My second section is technical features. My third, that's all fine. You just want things to be uh, organized and have a clear hierarchy, so I know, oh, I'm looking at technical specifications. If you have a bunch of ads in the middle, this is an issue that I have with Amazon a lot, where I'm looking at a product and then it's like they show ads at the same time as they're
Yeah.
showing like product features, and it's like it gets really confusing. And I think that
Yeah.
that I mean I think that's not a good user experience. I mean, it may
Yeah.
work for them. I don't know, but
Or related products interrupt the flow. I mean, and these are kind of things that are going to continue to be debated. and are going to continue to change, over time. And and it really depends also on like what device you're using and what the experience is. um, there's ways to do conversion that's different when you have the ability to swipe on the device versus it's scrolling and you're clicking with a mouse. And I don't know that we've really there's probably a few companies who've nailed down some really good paradigms, but there isn't generally not. I mean, there's some iOS standards for design, but there's a lot of opportunities there still. So
Yeah,
to
I think
yeah,
phone. I think phone. Um, Most websites are not optimized for phone conversion. Like, especially, I mean, a lot of blogs and content sites. There's so many ads and there's so much clutter that it's really hard to find the content that you're looking for, the information you're looking for.
yeah. It's funny when you load up a site that's built for web, but it's kind of responsive,
Mm.
and then you load it up on the phone, and there's like two giant ads like
Yeah,
clogging the thing, and you gotta use your tiniest little corner of your finger to get it open.
it's maddening.
It's crazy, but that's kind of old web, and hopefully that stuff's gonna just eventually break and stop working. So let's talk about, like, to wrap these questions up here. Let's talk about the question is, why are website conversions critical for your business? Do they increase sales, improve brand reputation, leverage existing website traffic, and decrease traffic acquisition costs?
Mm. Well, I mean, we kind of talked briefly, like it depends on what you want, right? Conversion is the audience doing the thing that you want them to do. So it's critical because you want them to do the thing you want them to do, right? So yes, I would say conversion is critical for your business. Will it increase sales? If that's what you're driving them to do, hopefully it would, right? The idea, as far as decreasing traffic acquisition costs, I don't think so. I think those are two different things, right? Like, you have your acquisition costs, you're driving traffic to your site, and then it might either increase your overall revenue or decrease your
Yeah,
overall
yeah.
costs if
That's
you
how it would
have good
decrease it.
conversion
Yeah,
rates,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that the website is the best tool uh, for communicating with your customers. I mean, your only other options are social networks,
Right.
and you know,
Well, and pay
website,
advertising and
yeah,
billboards and
but yeah, but if you're a brick and mortar,
right.
you got to get people in the door.
Yeah.
You know how people sometimes get people in the door. They may have a barker outside waving people in. They may have big signage, like
Mm-hmm.
promotional paint, 50% off on the window or whatever. In a lot of ways, it's uh, there's some similarities, I guess, but you are trying to get them through a door, and the door is essentially getting them to convert into your point to whatever the goal is. Um, and all the design things we talked about before
Mm-hmm.
aid in that process. And the other thing that I think is really important too, Pierre, and you could talk to this a little bit, is testing and
Mm-hmm.
trying things, because the color of a button can matter. The position of the button can matter. If the message isn't connecting with people because it's just not the right words, that can matter. And that's where, like, technology can be used to help test out and then help make a choice, right? That's to explain how A/B testing works.
Yeah, so that's a really good example. So A/B testing would be, say we want to test. We're trying to get somebody to start a free trial, and so we're going to say, if we put the start the free trial button at the top of the site, does it work better than if we put it underneath the intro copy? Right? You can create two versions of your page that would have each variation, and then, if assuming your software supports this, you can take half of your traffic and send it to one version, and half of your traffic and send it to another, and then you can measure that with your analytics and say, okay, on version A, the 30% of people clicked the button. On version B, 42% of people click the button. Therefore, we know that version B works better, right? So then you can do that, for all kinds of different variations of your content, and you should do that and constantly be changing and testing different things to see, is this message going to resonate better, or is that message resonating better?
Yeah. So that's tech's a good way to do it. Also just make good content.
Yeah, good content.
Really think about your audience, think about what's going to be exciting to them, and try a bunch of stuff and see what happens. Any final thoughts on questions, Pierre?
Yeah, I think we're talking about conversion. We're talking about web. I do think, like you said, that your website is the only place that you can truly own, like a digital space, right? You don't own your Facebook profile. If Facebook decides to turn you off, you are turned off, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So I would recommend to everyone, sure, be active on socials, right? That's a good place to find an audience, but always be driving that audience back to your website and have a home on the internet that you're sending your traffic to, and people can start to understand that that's where you're going to be, so that, if, say your social network of choice gets banned in the United States or in your country and you need to move somewhere else, right? At least you have your central location. And then, and I think overall users, especially young people now, they expect you to have a website. They expect it to be nice. They expect it to work on the device that they're using, right? Be that a laptop or a widescreen or a phone, it's got to work and it has to look nice. And I think more and more people are getting really fed up with data breach, with people losing their records. So you have to be keeping people's data secure, and you have to show that. Yeah.
I'm glad you landed there, and I think that's a good place to end this. Good design supports the brand. Brand is stronger with good design. A well-organized website has good hierarchy, good layout, all those things that will eventually help customers convert. But then there's this next side, which is what you're doing with the customer once they're there. And yes, e-commerce, there's a whole bunch of stuff with loyalty and all that, but we're moving into an era where people are going to interface more with a website, more with software that's funneled through a website, and they are expecting their data to be protected, and they're expecting that experience behind I guess it's behind the firewall is what we used to say, but it's like once you're logged in now, I guess is kind of where we are now. Once you're logged in, you need to maintain that same good design throughout and make the experience, nice for your guests.
Yeah. And don't lose.
Okay, moving on. What's that?
And don't lose their data.
Don't lose their data.
Don't lose it.
Yeah. Let's head down way and talk a little bit about Doom and this funny article that came out on IGN that says, move over, toasters. Doom is now playable inside a PDF.
So yeah, Doom, this is funny actually, because, there's been kind of a meme, a hacker meme around for a long time where people they get Doom running on crazier and crazier things. So like on your, Raspberry Pi or on, and then like the article is saying the toaster, on these smart devices, can you get Doom running? Well, apparently now you can run Doom inside of a PDF. So
you can move around. You just don't get the what is it, audio,
right,
video, and stuff like that. What's interesting about Doom 2 is it's 1993 video game. Prior to that, though, was the Castle Wolfenstein game, which was,
Wolf 3D.
Started back in 1981. It was the first version. And we used to play, we'd, I think in college, we had like the Doom server. And that was my first time playing a video game where I was like, okay, I slammed my headphones down. I've been shot so many times, and I'm like, I got to take a break. And then we started to learn that the whoever we were playing with had like cheat codes and could respawn in front, like they knew where you were and could respawn like right in front of you. And I was like, okay, after 2 hours of this, I've had enough. I needed to take a break for a while.
Yeah, I was much more of a marathon player than Doom. That Marathon was the precursor to Halo, but yeah, I think we played some Doom. The minigun was always fun, and he makes the funny grin when you grab that one.
Yeah. And there was something interesting about the 3D space, both Wolfenstein and that, and like being able to turn and go around corners. And you just think now how many games are like based around that idea now. Now they become like totally open worlds, because they don't need to have tunnels, because the tunnels were there to just keep the background being 8-bit and you could get your character running through. But yeah, that's funny that it's now in a PDF. Now you can take the link and go to our pod or our blog and follow the link and play the PDF and tell us if you can make it to the end. I don't know if there is a beginning or how deep it goes yet. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. If you want to check out the stories or topics we covered, head over to the madedaily.com blog. And if you have a story you'd like to share or questions like we compiled today, please leave us some comments or leave us a message on our website.
And don't forget to subscribe. Click the button.
Until next time,
stay scared.
Made Daily.